Welcome to This Week in High School Sports. I'm your host, Teresa Wippel, and Steve Willits. We had a beautiful day today.
We had a gorgeous day today. Tough to come inside, but you know what? It's about getting this high school sports word out, and we're willing to do it for a few minutes.
That's right, and I'm sure the athletes are enjoying their time in the sun this week, too. And before we get started, our sponsor, Sean Richards from Red Onion Burgers, you have some things to share with us.
Brought a menu in today. We were just kind of looking over some things. I stopped by Red Onion on the way here, and again, burgers, shakes, fries, beer and wine also. So it's not just the kid stuff, so to speak. Plenty of good food, soups, you name it, they've got it. So we always encourage people to get on over there to 212th and 44th and check out Red Onion, and we appreciate the sponsorship.
Yes, we do. Thank you very much, Sean Richards. And now, what is happening on the baseball field?
A little bit of everything. Everybody had a 3-game series this week, all 4 of our teams, and really Lynnwood, Edmonds-Woodway, still battling with Shorewood for that top spot. A little bit of a rough week for Lynnwood. They only they lost 2 out of 3 to Glacier Peak.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a Lynnwood Royals team who over the last couple of years is not accustomed to losing series, almost got swept. They had to pull out a 1-run victory on Friday. Edmonds-Woodway, on the other hand, defeated Meadowdale 2 out of 3 games this week. So right now it's Shorewood on top. Lynnwood and Edmonds-Woodway really kind of in a virtual tie, if you will. One team is 7-3, the other one is 8-4. So percentage-wise, there's a little bit of a difference and a little edge to Lynnwood. But in terms of losses versus wins, same number in terms of differential in the win-loss column. So those 2 teams are tied for second. Meadowdale, they're back there in 5th place right now. You have to come in the top 4 to advance to districts. So really, they've got a couple of big games coming up. Matter of fact, this coming week, they play 3 against Shorewood, the first-place Shorewood team.
That should be good.
That could be very tough for them. If they can survive that, though, and if they can possibly even pull out 2 out of 3, they would then finish their season off with 5 games against Shorecrest for 3, Mount Lake Terrace for 2. Those are the 2 teams that are in last and second to last. Shorecrest hasn't won a game at all yet this year. So really, Meadowdale, a make-or-break week for them. And then we've got Edmonds-Woodway hosting Lynnwood 2 out of 3 games this week, with Lynnwood playing a home game in between there. Those 2, again, running neck and neck right now. A huge series for those 2 to see who will hold second place more than likely by the end of the week.
Wow. Well, that could be a great time to go out in the sun and catch some high school baseball.
Definitely. And we should mention also Mount Lake Terrace. Unfortunately for them, they're the hard luck team this year. They've lost 4 games in extra innings. They're 0-4. And they've also lost 3 other games by 1 run. They did get a nice victory the other day over Shorewood, something that doesn't come easily. That was only Shorewood's 2nd loss of the season. We've got a picture of Connor Flynn we're going to put up there. Connor went 3 for 4 in that game. So we do want to give them a little bit of love, too. I know for Mount Lake Terrace, it's been a hard year. It looks as though they're not going to make the playoffs, regardless of how they finish out the year. But they're still playing tough, and they could really be a spoiler coming down the stretch.
Okay, very good. And golf news we have?
We had a couple of different meets this week that were worth mentioning. On Tuesday, Meadowdale defeated Shorewood and Edmonds-Woodway. Mason Harvey shot a 72. It was an 18-hole course. And then on Thursday, Mount Lake Terrace defeated Glacier Peak, Shorecrest, and Lynnwood. Mikey Jensen, a name that we've mentioned a few times during the football season, also the quarterback for Mount Lake Terrace. This was a 9-hole course, and Mikey shot a 38 to lead the Hawks.
That's good. That's very good. All right. And then tennis.
Yeah, a little bit of everything going on in tennis. Edmonds-Woodway and Meadowdale kind of fighting neck and neck. We did have Edmonds-Woodway had a 4-3 victory over Lynnwood this week. Meadowdale kind of running right around the same spot with Edmonds-Woodway in terms of in the standings. But the thing that we're going to talk about right now is Lynnwood, a team that is struggling a little bit in Wesco play. They've lost some heartbreakers this year. It seems like every time we look, they're losing 4-3 or 5-2. Good doubles teams, though. They're struggling a little bit on the individual side of things. But we want to talk about them because Rob McMains joined us in studio earlier. Rob is not only the Lynnwood coach, he's also the athletic director. So we had plenty to talk about. Here was the interview we did with Rob. And joining us right now from Lynnwood High School, the athletic director / tennis coach, Rob McMains. Rob, first of all, spring sports, a busy time of year for you. Not only are you the athletic director, but as we mentioned, you're coaching girls tennis. How busy of a time of season is this for you?
That's definitely the busiest time of year, without question. It's morning till night every single day, and when my kids are in bed at night, then I'm I work for a couple more hours after that. So it is a very busy time.
Now, you're a name that a lot of people in Edmonds might be familiar with. You coached at Edmonds-Woodway basketball for quite a few years. You've come over to Lynnwood, and now you're coaching tennis. How does one become a tennis coach after so many years of basketball?
When you want a slower pace of life, I think. But yeah, I taught at Edmonds-Woodway for 9 years, and I was the head basketball coach there from 01 to 06, and I had a great time there, and had the opportunity to be the athletic director at Lynnwood. So I went over to Lynnwood for that, and did that for 3 years, and then decided just to take a step back and go back to teaching full-time. And so I started coaching tennis at Lynnwood and basketball as an assistant coach at that time, and then slid into the head coaching spot. And so I've been doing that for the last 5 years.
Now, I was looking at your tennis record this year. You got off to a nice start early in the season, a lot of nice non-conference matchups for you. Been a little bit of a struggle down the stretch, but a lot of close losses.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the season a little bit.
It's been great. We got a great group of kids, and who are working hard and are fun to be around. And yeah, we'd fit in well, I think, in the Wesco North. The Wesco South is I think one of the toughest leagues in the state when it comes to tennis, both for boys and girls. And so we have competed well, though, a lot of 3-4 losses, and our doubles teams are doing very well. In fact, I think I just looked up, we were 24-9 in doubles matches so far this year. So doing well. The singles are a little bit tougher, because you go up against players who are club players and been playing all their life, and so that's tough to compete with. But the kids are doing well and competing, so it's gone well so far.
Now, you're obviously concentrating on other sports as well as the athletic director, so we'll take off the coaching hat right now and put that AD cap on for a moment. Talk to us about the spring sports and how they're doing.
It's been great. In fact, the school year, this year as a whole, I think has been one of our most successful school years from fall to winter to spring. And just continuing the spring, boys soccer has been doing very well. And so hopefully they're going to make a playoff push here. And baseball had a good run last year, and they're playing well this year. And softball, I think if we get some girls back that have been injured, I think we're going to make a run as well. So it's been fun, and we've got good people and good coaches doing a nice job. So hopefully that'll continue.
Well, and one of those coaches, Dwayne Lewis, has been at the school for more than 4 decades. He's coaching track and field again. I understand this is his 50th year as a coach at some level. Talk to me a little bit about Coach Lewis.
Well, yeah, it's his 50th year, I think 45th at Lynnwood, and it's nice as an athletic director when you've got a coach like Coach Lewis who knows the routine, knows the system, and can just take care of business, and I don't have to be overseeing every little aspect of the program. And so he's done a great job, and the girls finished 3rd in the state as a team last year, and I think pretty much maybe return everyone that made it to state last year. So hopefully with Michaela and Malia and Jordan and Rita Sakharov that they'll have another good run this year too.
You mentioned 3rd in state. That's a nice little segue for us. Another team that finished 3rd in state this year, the Lynnwood Royals girls basketball team. Normally 3rd in state sounds great. When your team is ranked in the top 20 in the nation most of the season, it's a little bit harder pill to swallow, especially knowing that really they were one of the top 2 teams in the state. Lynnwood Bellevue kind of won in 1A all season. And then they get matched up in the semifinals this year, Rob, in the state tournament.
Yeah, it was obviously it wasn't what we were hoping for, and and when it happened, we knew it could happen, and when it does happen, both myself and Coach Edwards, we were just like, it is what it is. We gotta go through them at some point, and so you try to deal with it as best you can and say it is what it is. Let's deal with it, and hopefully though the WIAA will take a look at things and be open to another way of doing things. And they have a system, and the way it works, and it is what it is. But hopefully they'll be open to other ideas as to how to seed the brackets in the future. Not just for us, but it happens to other teams too and other classifications. But I think, even if we had been on the other side of the bracket and made it to the state championship and maybe had lost, there would still be disappointment, and it would still feel like something was left on the table. And so are the girls disappointed? Absolutely. The coaches too. And because the goal was to win. The goal wasn't just to get second. The goal was to win the whole thing. And so whether we got second or third, there was going to be disappointment. But obviously, we preferred to be in the championship game.
Sure, and the coach of that team, Everett Edwards, finally deciding after 9 years to step down. Those are some huge shoes to fill. For you as an athletic director, what are you looking for in coaches in general, really, not just the girls basketball team? What kind of criteria do you look at? And really, from your standpoint, what exactly is your role in that process? I mean, I know you obviously have Julie Stronzik, who's the athletic director for the entire school district. You have Principal David Golden, other folks that are in the loop. Walk me through that a little bit. What's the procedure there?
Yeah, I mean, all three of us are involved quite heavily. So, I mean, Dave Golden, he's a great principal, loves to be involved in athletics and very supportive of athletics. And so that's great because not all principals are. And so he's very involved, and so is Julie Stronzik. And so we kind of work together when it comes to hiring head coaches and make a decision together. There's no one person who necessarily has the final decision. We just kind of work together and come up with the best candidate that we can. At this point, for girls, for that position, we're going to leave it open for another week or so, and then we'll review applications and see where we're at. The goal is to have somebody in place, obviously, by summer basketball, since that's a critical time. But we're not going to hurry, and we want to find the right person and not just fill the job to fill the job. So we'll be all right. We'll find somebody great and keep moving forward.
Definitely. And also, as an athletic director, I've got to think that there are maybe pros and cons to this a little bit. You can walk me through it. When you have high-profile athletes who are getting dragged in all different directions in terms of recruiting, in terms of attention, media, you certainly have your share of them this year with Michaela Pivick and Jordan Edwards on the basketball team. You've got Maddie Morgan, who's going to Alabama for softball. You've got Jared Whitman and Kyler McMahon baseball. What is it like for you in terms of an athletic director, and what are your responsibilities in terms of making sure that the recruits aren't getting in the way, so to speak, but at the same time kind of facilitating everything so that they do get that notoriety and that attention, and with their national trips that they take sometimes too?
Yeah, I mean, my job as an athletic director is pretty minimal when it comes to that type of thing. And sometimes college recruiters will show up at the school, and so we'll facilitate meetings for athletes. But a lot of it happens outside of school, outside of the school season, and so we don't see a lot of that. But it's great. It's great. We're very blessed right now to have some very talented kids and who are also good kids and good role models for our school. And so yeah, it's a blessing right now.
And my last question for you: growing up around this area and playing sports in the Edmonds School District, I remember the old days of Lynnwood High School, going over there and playing across the street from the mall on older fields and fields that weren't necessarily maintained quite as nicely.
Yeah.
You've got gorgeous facilities right now. I would think from the athletic director standpoint and as a coach, it's got to be a real joy for you and a real treat to be able to practice and play on those fields all the time.
Oh, it's fantastic, And my first couple of years, we were at the old school, and kids would just leave campus. Hey, let's go get a Jamba or whatever. They'd walk across the street to the mall, and when they go to the mall, they're not coming back. And so the distractions are less, and the absences are less, and so it's great. It's great compared to where we came from, and so the field use is fantastic, and both for our physical education classes and for our athletic teams. So it's nice when you pull into the school. I mean, it looks first class, and so we're just enjoying it.
So great facilities, great kids this year, solid teams. It's good to be Lynnwood right now. And Rob, appreciate you coming in here today.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, and continued success to you and all the Royals programs, and see how you guys finish out the season.
All right, go Royals.
Rob McMains has a busy job being both a coach and an athletic director, but it sounds like he's handling it pretty well.
Yeah, and I've got to think it's a fun job too. When we were talking to Rob off the air, he mentioned that he didn't want to be an athletic director unless he could still coach. So I think that's one of those things where he's willing to figure out a way to juggle that, and I think he's having a lot of fun with it too.
Great. Well, and speaking of Lynnwood, we are once again, even though it's April, we're going to talk about Lynnwood girls basketball players.
Does it ever stop?
It doesn't seem to.
Every time I think we're done, something else pops up that I wasn't aware of. Michaela Pivick, surprise, surprise, and Jordan Edwards, both of those young ladies, went on down with 8 other girls from the state of Washington, and they did the annual Washington versus Oregon All-Star game, which took place in Hillsboro, Oregon. So 10 Washington players all have signed Division I scholarships, took on 10 of the best Oregon players. Final score, Washington 103, Oregon 61. I guess we know who reigns supreme there.
I guess we do.
Michaela, who will be playing her college ball down in that area, down in Corvallis at Oregon State, she goes out and scores 19 points and gets 14 rebounds. I think 15 of those points were in the first half, including a 25-foot buzzer beater at the end of the half to pull away and to give them a 21-point lead at that point. Jordan also scored 9 points, so a nice way for those two ladies to once again play with each other before heading off to college. I think we're done talking basketball with those two, and now they can get back to the track, which they're also excellent athletes.
Yeah, I don't think we can count out talking about them about track.
No, by no
because there's
means.
a lot still to come. And speaking of that, what's happening in the track world?
Yeah, the Easton Invitational took place over the weekend. That was over at Snohomish High School. 53 different schools, 1,200 different athletes. A number of athletes from the Edmonds School District doing very well. One award that I want to make sure we really point out, the Tuck Gane Citizenship Award. This is an award that's being given out for the first time this year. Mr. Gane was a teacher at Snohomish for many years. They decided to give out a citizenship award in his honor. He passed away this past year. And I guess one of the criteria that goes into this award is GPA and just general citizenship. Kristen Yim from Meadowdale was the girls' winner out of all 53 schools. So
congratulations, Kristen.
yeah, we think that's a pretty big deal. Other athletes we want to mention who won at this at their events, and again, 53 schools winning outright is not easy. Michaela Pivick, not the only Pivick we're going to mention today. Malia Pivick, she won the 3200 with a time of 10 minutes and 51 seconds. Rita Sakharov, also from Lynnwood, she won the 300 hurdles. She also finished third in the 100 hurdles. Yakino Parlay, and we might have messed that last name up, but we think it's Parlay. Edmonds-Woodway, she won the 1600. And then the Edmonds-Woodway Distance Medley Relay Team, they also won their particular event. Harry White, we like to mention Harry every once in a while, from Meadowdale, great student and a phenomenal athlete. He finished third in the 110 hurdles. And then last but certainly not least, Grant Whitcutt, who is a great track athlete over at Edmonds-Woodway. Grant won the high jump, and the reason we saved Grant for last is because we brought him into studio today. We talked to him a little bit about not only the invitation, but also other things going on with him, and the fact that he just verbally committed, or I guess he just signed his letter of intent to run track and to participate in the decathlon over at the University of Montana next year. Here's that interview with Grant. The Easton Invitational took place this weekend up at Snohomish High School. This is a track meet that features 53 different schools, over 1,200 athletes. And with us right now, one of our local athletes who not only participated, he won the high jump. Grant Whitcutt is with us right now. Grant, first of all, congratulations on a big weekend.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Now, this is your second championship at the Easton Invitational. You won it as a junior as well, correct?
Yep, 6'7" last year.
And only 6'6" this year, but you didn't need to jump any higher, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Now, you mentioned 6'7". I understand you broke the school record about a week and a half ago, or I guess it was a couple weeks ago now.
Yeah.
With a distance of 6'8" and a half.
6'8" and a half, yeah.
School record, you broke Eric Greenwood's record, which was set, I think, back in 2007.
Yep.
You and I were talking just a few moments ago. I asked you if you'd ever met Eric Greenwood, and you had a fun little story from a couple years back.
Yeah, I was kind of helping out at a Seahawks indoor facility junior football camp, and I met Eric Greenwood, and I walked up to him. And he's like 6'5", and I walked up to him and I was a sophomore back then. Introduced myself, hi, I'm Grant Whitcutt, and I'm going for your school record. And he kind of laughed at me, but
he's not laughing now.
We got to talking, and he's a good guy. I think he's down in California right now, but I hope he hears the bad news.
Well, we can put the word former in front of his record-breaking moment there, so you have that record. Talk to us a little bit in general about the Easton Invitational. I know you also competed in the long jump, which you took 5th. You pole vaulted yesterday. So many athletes, a lot going on, a lot of moving parts. It sounds like a very long day.
It's a big meet. I think there was 1,200 athletes at the meet with I think 50 schools there. And what's interesting about the pole vault is there's 60 guys on the runway. So
by the way, I have to put this up here while you're talking about that. We do have a picture of you participating in the high jump there, but But at
Yeah.
any rate, yeah. So you're going up against 60 different guys.
Yeah, so starting at 10 feet, my personal record is 14 feet. I haven't hit that this year, but we started at 10 feet and at the meet yesterday. And once you clear the height, there's so many guys that you have to wait about an hour until you vault again. So guys are sitting in the sun. I got fried. I'm red, but yeah, it wasn't a really. Those kind of meets aren't really good for personal bests because you're waiting so like much in between vaults.
Is there a
So-
lot you can do in between in terms of at some point you can only stretch so much,
Yeah,
right? Or
exactly.
keep yourself
So-
loose. What are
I mean, just getting out of the shade and hydrating yourself is all you can do. But it was a fun meet, and
and am I right to assume that you're not the only person from your family that participated at the meet yesterday?
yeah, my twin sister Brittany Whitcutt was at the meet doing pole vault as well. I think she got 8.6.
So it's a family affair, and also I should mention Edmonds-Woodway, some great track athletes this year.
Yeah, for
Let's
sure.
mention a few of those other folks on your team who have been having nice seasons so far.
Grady Oakenson and his relay team doing the DMR. They just beat the school record and placed first at the meet yesterday in Easton. So
Strong meet all
Yeah.
around for a lot of
yeah,
folks.
the runners for sure on our team are strong.
Now you're heading off to college next year. You just signed your verbal commitment, your letter of intent the other day, and I think we have a picture of that we're going to put up right now. It's a picture of you along with Maddie Burdett, who's heading off to Whitman, and also Riley Seward, the wrestler, who's going to Western Colorado State.
Yeah.
Now you're going to the University of Montana.
Correct.
Congratulations.
Yep, thank you.
And you're going as a decathlete. First of all, tell folks out there that don't know what the decathlon is exactly. Which events make up a decathlon?
Decathlon, there's the high jump, long jump, pole vault, hurdles, I think shot put, javelin, and
It involves quite a bit.
it involves quite a bit. It's a big commitment.
Now, how does one
sure.
become a decathlete? Because in high school, you don't really participate in all of those events.
Yeah.
I would think that from a recruiting standpoint, it's harder for these coaches to find decathletes, knowing which ones can and can't do
Right.
everything.
Right.
How did that process come about for you, and how did you become a decathlete?
Oh, well, with the events that I do, pole vault and high jump, they're probably two of the 4 hardest events in the decathlon. And the long jump, high jump, and pole vault, I'm so good at those events that it makes sense for me to become a decathlete because it's easier to teach a great vaulter and high jumper how to run than it is a runner to teach them how to do the technical aspects of the pole vault and the high jump. So once you got the hardest events down as your bread and butter events, then it's kind of easy for a coach to coach them into a decathlete.
Yeah.
So I haven't done a decathlon yet, but this year I'm planning on doing it.
And you mentioned to me earlier, this wasn't really your decision, right? The Montana coaches let you know
Yeah.
that we want you to become a decathlete. So therefore, hurdles, is that new to you?
Yeah, hurdles. I started doing it this year only because I know that I'm going to be doing it in the decathlon, and so I'm excited to do it. I competed in one meet this year, and I got I think 17:43 or something, which is an okay time, but yeah, it's fun. It's kind of scary.
And I'm always curious too, and I know you and I talked a little bit about this before we started this broadcast. There's always interesting stories out there as to how certain athletes end up in different places. You mentioned to me that Montana didn't necessarily come calling on you. You went
Yeah.
out and you were very proactive on your own account. Tell me a little bit about that story.
Well, I think last year I was nervous. I didn't know where I wanted to go to college, so I wasn't really getting much letters. I was getting letters from Cornell and all that kind of stuff. But my GPA wasn't probably good enough to get in there.
Most people's aren't. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I wasn't getting letters from the schools that I wanted to go to, and I'd checked out Central and Western, and those schools didn't quite fit my personality, and I wasn't quite happy with them. But I went online, and I just started sending a generic email to all the schools, the universities in Washington and Idaho, in Montana and Oregon, and saying, hey, like this is my heights and times and stuff, and here's a highlight video. So yeah, I mean, I just kind of sent it out to a bunch of coaches, and Coach Brian Schwain at Montana replied to me, and he's like, yeah, I'd like to have you come visit and see what happens.
There's a great story there for other underclass athletes in the area who are looking to get recruited. Don't always wait for the recruits to come to you.
Yeah. Oh, I've been
Go
telling
find them.
people. I've
Yeah.
been telling younger guys too. It's even baseball players. There's a kid named Costa Cooper who I've been kind of helping with. Yeah, but
We'll see if it works for Costa. Hey, last year you finished 4th in state in the long jump. I think you were 6th in the pole vaults. Talk to me a little bit about what it's going to take to maybe improve on those marks this year. I know you've got some stiff competition. I know again in the high jump, right?
The high jump, I'm not really sure who is left because we had some seniors last year from Bellevue or some other schools that were at state. That I don't know who graduated or not. But I'm not really focusing on high jump anymore this year. I broke the school record, 6'8.5". That's going to get me to state. So now it's all about pole vault for me. Ever since the state meet last year, I didn't vault the whole entire summer and winter, all the way until the track season this year. So I'm kind of rusty, and I'm just starting to get in there. And I vaulted 12 feet, and that's the best I've gotten this year. But I'm still practicing, so I hope to go 14.7. That's a school record, and that coach doesn't think it's going to be a problem at all for me.
There you go.
Yeah.
One school record down, maybe one more to go, and you still have about a month left to do it. Districts coming up as well as state. So it sounds like it's been a great season for you so far. Great season for the Warriors as well. Grant, thank you very much for coming on with us, and best of luck to you the rest of the way.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And go.
I had a chance to hear Grant speak at the letter of intent signing ceremony. They gave all of the athletes a chance to have a little speech, and he was so articulate and very grateful to all of the help and support that he'd received from his family and from his friends, and he's just a great young man.
Yeah, real treat for us when we do these interviews to get to know these young athletes a little bit, and just even talking to Grant on the phone when we were setting this up, you could tell it was we were in for a special one, and yeah, Grant certainly a great kid, and we're looking forward to following him not only this year but also all the way to Montana.
In Montana, yeah, you bet. And so softball still had some. Meadowdale is continuing to do what Meadowdale does.
Are you surprised?
No, not at all.
Yeah, Meadowdale 2 games last week. They defeated Arlington 17-1, defeated Stanwood 10-0. Do the math, 27-1 run differential, which is pretty much standard for Meadowdale at this point. We do have a few pictures to put up from those 2 games. I think in particular we have a picture of Julia Rubel, who we brought in a few weeks ago. Julia had a home run in the game against Stanwood. Also, Sam Gregoric, who came in along with Julia to do that interview. Sam had 2 home runs in that game. And I think we have another picture as well. There they are of Meadowdale doing what they seem to do quite often is celebrate at home plate with each other.
That's right.
Again, they're 10-0 on the season. They've yet to score under 10 runs in a game. They've yet to give up more than 4 runs in a game. Awfully tough to beat. I will mention that Meadowdale has a couple of very tough games coming up this week. They play Everett on Thursday. That's a home game. This is an Everett team that finished 2nd in state last year, an Everett team that beat Meadowdale rather handily in the district championship game. So it's a bit of a revenge game as well. I know from talking to some of the girls earlier this month when we had them in here, they haven't forgotten about that. So I know that one's circled on their calendar. And as if that's not tough enough, they then go up to Marysville-Pilchuck the following day on Friday, and they play a Marysville-Pilchuck team that is currently ahead of Everett in the standings up north. So 2 of the tougher teams they're going to see on their schedule this year, back-to-back. Should be kind of fun to see how that goes. Other things worth mentioning this week, Mount Lake Terrace won both of their games. They're now 6-2 in conference, 8-2 overall. Julia Brocksmith, the freshman, had a 2 home run game also against Oak Harbor. Edmonds-Woodway, a very exciting game for them early in the week. They defeated the aforementioned Marysville-Pilchuck team. Final score was 13-11. I was following that one on Twitter. I think it was 5-0 Marysville-Pilchuck in the first inning. Assumed at that point that Marysville-Pilchuck was going to put them away. You don't give up on the Warriors, though. They came storming back. They won that game. They then went on to defeat Marysville-Getchell in the week. Did lose a tough one against Everett late, but again, Everett's a very tough opponent. So Edmonds-Woodway right now trails Mount Lake Terrace by half of a game. Glacier Peak is still in the mix there as well, so we'll be following that all season. A couple of games worth mentioning this week also. Edmonds-Woodway on Monday is going to play their Think Pink game against Oak Harbor. This game will take place at 4 o'clock at Edmonds-Woodway, and this is a breast cancer awareness game. Both teams are participating in this, so
Very
we invite
nice.
folks to come out there and to support the cause. And Mount Lake Terrace also plays a game at Everett on Tuesday. And again, if you can get a win against Everett, you've accomplished something. And the South teams only play the North teams once a year, so really their only chance to get have a shot at Everett. We'll see what they can do.
Yeah, and again, it's supposed to be nice weather, so for either baseball or softball, if you want to go out and sit in the sun, this would be a good week to do it.
It's definitely the week to do that.
Yeah, okay. And then soccer.
Yeah, a few more soccer notes. Funny mention here, we had two of the Lynnwood players in here last week,
Yeah.
Dane Evanger and Riley Johnson. And at the time we mentioned that Dane they were having a friendly competitive competition against each other as to who could get the most goals in the season. If you'll recall, Dane had a 10-9 advantage over Riley at the time.
Right.
And we were teasing Riley because Dane had 3 hat tricks on the year. Hat trick is where you get 3 goals in a game. Riley didn't have any. So what happened after we did the interview? They played Everett 2 days later, and Riley went out and got 4 goals and picked up his first hat trick. So
gee.
Riley, if you're watching, congratulations.
Yeah,
And
that's
way
great.
to finally to get off the schneid there and to get yourself a hat trick. That was nicely done. Lynnwood, Edmonds-Woodway, both 5-1-1 in league play right now. They're in a tie for 3rd place. 2 teams that have a rough week coming up. Lynnwood's got to go up to Marysville-Pilchuck on Tuesday at 7:30. It's a Marysville-Pilchuck team that is right behind them in the standings. Also, Edmonds-Woodway this week also plays Marysville-Pilchuck. They get them at home Friday night over at Edmonds Stadium, so that could be a fun one to watch. One other game worth mentioning, Meadowdale and Mount Lake Terrace, they're a little further back in the pack, but both are fighting for a playoff spot. And they, in fact, play each other Tuesday, 7:30, and that game's over at Lynnwood High School.
Okay, well, lots to choose from this week if you want to go out and support your local teams.
It's plenty to go around, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for joining us, and we'll be back again next week with This Week in High School Sports.